Hey there, this is Perkstream for April 26, 2023, and here's some good news. The Lord is near. Well, hey, thanks for stopping by and joining me for Perkstream today. I hope that your week is off to a good start and there are many good things that you're anticipating on the way. I remember sitting on the rock, asking God a question, and then in a startled moment realizing He had spoken to me. Just as clearly as you can hear my voice right now, I could hear the voice of God saying something to me. I've only had that happen to me, I would say, a handful of times in my life where I'd known that the voice of the Lord spoke to me. And so I knew He was present to me. Other times I've just stepped forward in faith and I've just moved out and gone, well, Lord, I have to believe you're near me. I have to believe that you're nearby because this isn't going to happen unless you're near. And so I walked on in faith that God is near. What I want to encourage us with today is a couple things. One is God is near. God promises that, and God always keeps his promises. But God's character is not dependent on whether or not I feel he is near. God's promises being kept do not depend on whether I actually feel him in the room. Not feeling the Lord's presence is not the gauge of whether he is nearby. We trust God's character, we trust his word, right? And so if we trust his word, then we can trust that he is nearby. Let me give you an outtake from Psalm 145, where there's a series of things that the psalmist says about the Lord that he says, hey, these things are true. The Lord upholds those who fall and lifts up those who are bowed down. The eyes of all look to you, and you give them their food in their proper time. You open your hand and satisfy the desires of every living thing. The Lord is righteous in all his ways and faithful in all he does. And here's the line. The Lord is near to all who call on him, to all who call on him in truth. He fulfills the desires of those who fear him. He hears their cry and saves them. The Lord watches over all who love him, but all the wicked he will destroy. Well, not only is God near to us, he's acting for us. He's actively aware of what we need, and he's pouring into our lives what is necessary for not just our living, but our being sustained in the world. So how is it that we move forward with this idea? How do we move into life and go, well, I don't feel him near. What do I do? I think one thing that we do is we develop the habit of looking for where God has been. And that meant me seem kind of funny, but another way we might put it is look for God's fingerprints on the circumstance or the situation. And this means stopping and doing a little bit of investigative work. Like, take the circumstance and review it. Where do I see God at work in all of this? I remember a time when I went to church at night. This is back when we had evening services, and I was in college and I rode my bike to church. I was going to ride it home. Only when I came time to ride it home, there was a big old nail in the tire, and I was not going anywhere. I had only gotten a few hundred yards from the church when I realized I've got a real problem. Well, fortunately, there were still people at the church, and I went back and they loaded up the bike in the trunk of their car and they took me home. Now, I could be really upset about this. It's like, wow, this is just really bad. Where was God when I needed him? Well, God was actually teaching me that I needed those people. Sometimes I wanted to fix things myself. I do want to fix things myself. And God uses these circumstances to remind me that my dependency on people is a good thing. And that it's still something I need to remember from time to time, that God is still teaching me. But those are circumstances. It's a small one, I'm sure, but God's fingerprints were in that. And I could see that he was doing something on my behalf, even though it wasn't the fix that I wanted. So I just want to encourage us that God is near, and God is near to us and he is speaking to us. And for our part, It's not whether we feel it, but it's whether we can see what's happening. And sometimes maybe only seeing it in retrospect, but just remaining aware because we know this that God's character, his nearness, and all of these things are not dependent on what we feel, but on him keeping his word to us. And this is what we can count on. God always keeps his word.